Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. Today we are discussing Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Now I'm very late to the party in discussing this. I watched this when it came out and I was absolutely enthralled by it. And rather than doing an intro where I kind of go into a lot of different details, I'd like to just start this off fresh and with my perspective right off the bat. It's probably clear to you what Cyberpunk Edgerunners is, but for the uninitiated, Cyberpunk Edgerunners is an anime based off of the very controversial Cyberpunk video game that came out in 2020. Before the show was coming out, I did not hear any buzz about it, nor did I hear any excitement for the property. In fact, I think it's safe to say that almost everything I heard about Cyberpunk exclusively was all negative. Now, for those of you who don't know, my favorite movie of all time is Blade Runner, and cyberpunk genres are very, very important to me as a genre and as a medium of fiction because I think cyberpunk does something that's really, really incredible in the fact that it brings out a lot of humanity's flaws and it shows us that our weaknesses and our hubris is really of our own making. Not to get too philosophical here, but that is kind of my background with cyberpunk as a genre. So when I watched Cyberpunk Edgerunners, I honestly was not expecting one of the best depictions of cyberpunk genres, but I also got a story that was extremely heartfelt and way more impactful than something that I even knew that the cyberpunk property could even bring. Admittedly, when Cyberpunk came out, all I heard was negative press, and I honestly just got to a point where I heard so much negative, I didn't really even bother to give the game a shot. I think I played about an hour or two at most, and I was so afraid that the game was going to break on me that I decided to just drop it altogether. And honestly, what a mistake that was, because Edgerunners showed me that the cyberpunk universe has so much more to give and made me realize I really truly judged a book by its cover. So you're probably wondering, what is the setup for Cyberpunk Edgerunners? Why is it so incredible? I think the first thing that people realize when they're watching Cyberpunk Edgerunners, or even footage or a trailer, and even footage that you'll see in this video, is the animation is absolutely stunning. The work from Studio Trigger that they put into this anime is truly some of the most impressive animation I've ever seen. From the character designs to the world, the color palettes, the diverse locations, the use of different lighting, it's all just an incredibly immersive and amazing experience for the eyes. And that's before we even get to the story and characters. I won't be going into spoilers in this video, but I do feel it's important to at least kind of give you the setup for Edgerunners so you can at least kind of know what story you're getting into. Essentially, the story kicks off with a young man named David Martinez. He lives with his mom, he's in school. Together, they are just barely making ends meet, constantly having to find ways to make money. He does some side jobs. Essentially, he is a down on his luck kid who has some very, very unfortunate things happen in the first few episodes, and it is about him learning to basically live an entirely different life than what he's ever known. Things that lead him to become a cyberpunk, or an edgerunner rather. Essentially, an edgerunner is somebody who lives on the fringes of society, somebody who doesn't take crap from corporate companies. They understand what their role is, and essentially they want to fight back and make it as best as they can in the world that they live in. Now that's a very vague setup, and honestly you've seen tons of animes approach this sort of plot and style before, but the way that Edgerunners does it is so focused and so dense with storytelling, and the way in which it incorporates different elements and story beats and even goes against the grain. There's a lot of things in Cyberpunk Edgerunners that do not pan out the way that most animes pan out, and it creates this wonderful diversity that you do not see in a lot of anime storytelling. In fact, I think Cyberpunk really bucks a lot of the trends that most shonen anime or even just anime tropes have inherently. It really does a great job of creating a story and then doing things that you didn't expect. And that's not even talking about the amazing cast of characters that Edgerunners has. David's crew, the people that he ends up falling in line with, are some of the most lovable people, and when something bad happens to the group, you feel the tragedy as a whole, because the characters you have, they have this weight to them that feels like if something were to happen to them, the group would really suffer without them. Honestly, that's one of the biggest surprises, is that the stakes actually feel very personal and very big for the characters that we're following. A lot of the times with anime, when you're watching it, you kind of get the sense that everybody is untouchable. And yeah, there's a couple side characters that could die off to create a sense of emotional response. But in Edgerunners, everybody feels like they're on the table for taking away, and it creates a wonderful sense of anxiety, hoping that our characters push through. It makes it that much more palpable and exciting to watch our characters try and make it through this vicious world. Now, it's probably no secret, but Cyberpunk Edgerunners is hands down one of the best video game adaptations I have ever seen put to screen. And it is the perfect showcase and blueprint of if you make a story and characters that matter, and you make something that's impactful and impressive that doesn't have to just be tied to the source material. It can stand on its own, and it can thrive in its own medium regardless of what medium that is. And I think that's what Edgerunners does perfectly, is it showcases that being creative and taking the world of the video game and adapting it to a different story is much more interesting than just rehashing something that was done better in a different medium. In fact, I think that's what a lot of these video game adaptations are starting to realize. You know, we've gotten some incredible adaptations within the last couple years, almost all exclusively animated, but I think it's because these animators realize we don't have to rely on these original stories. We can make something new. The other thing I want to point out is I think Cyberpunk Edgerunners is perfectly paced. It's only 10 episodes, and each episode varies from somewhere between 25 and about 40 minutes or so. And these episodes feel impactful. They feel as though they are specific and that they have a intention that they know they want to convey to the audience, and they execute it perfectly. And that's great. There are not enough TV shows that operate on the principles of I'm going to pace the story out properly and we're going to tell it in this amount of episodes, and if the studio doesn't like it, we'll screw them. There's not enough companies that do that, and they managed to pull that off with this. I hope that I've been able to properly convey why Cyberpunk Edgerunners is so impressive. I mean, obviously we mentioned the animation, the story, the characters, but there is something else. There is something deeper in Cyberpunk that I think ultimately made it this huge success. And that's the fact that it has this incredible world that was built long before this show existed and will exist far after this show. Night City is an incredibly beautiful and disgusting world. It's seedy, and it has this terrible gritty underbelly to it that just chews up and spits out the people that live there. And this anime does a perfect job of not only showcasing this city, but also making you want to go and play the game, which honestly is one of the biggest strengths to it. The fact that there is something that you can interact with that gives you more of this world, something that you can actually go and see the places in this anime. You can go and see where David lives. You can get his jacket. You can even cross paths with some of his enemies. I think it also made people realize Cyberpunk has been fixed significantly. If you haven't had a chance to play the game, or you had any interest in playing the game, you should absolutely do so. I had no interest in going into this, and this is coming from somebody who adores cyberpunk fiction, but I just was too afraid that it was broken. I have since, watching this anime, put 45 hours in the game on a complete whim because I was that invested in this world that Edgerunners showed me was there. And thankfully the show has a lot of consistencies that the game has in terms of its writing, its characters, its story, and they both feel as though they can stand on their own and both be incredible projects in this property. And it makes me so excited to see what could come next from Cyberpunk. It really is just incredibly surprising and so exciting that an anime of a property that everybody kind of just assumed was dead in the water, that nobody wanted to go back to, has managed to not only revitalize an entire community, but bring new fans into this incredible genre of fiction and also this incredible property. There are people like myself who have never interacted with the cyberpunk world outside of the anime, and then went into the game and was blown away by all the incredible things that the game had to show. And I am now a massive cyberpunk fan because of this show, and that is something that I'm incredibly grateful for, and so happy that I decided to take the chance and watch this show. I really hope that you decide to as well. Thank you so much for watching this, video essay on Cyberpunk Edgerunners. It's something that is incredibly important to me, and if it's incredibly important to you, I would love to hear your thoughts on Cyberpunk or Edgerunners in the comments below. Do you love the series? Are you sort of mid on the series? What are your opinions and thoughts on this wonderful world? Please comment below and let me know. As always, folks, thank you so much for watching and subscribing if you're interested. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Have a great day and take care of yourselves.